Welcome to episode 9 of the Football Fun Factory podcast. It seems like only yesterday we started off with episode 1, but time flies when you're having fun, and now look at us, seasoned podcast pros. Well, maybe that's going a little bit too far, but we're certainly enjoying ourselves. This week we're going to be discussing what it takes to get to the top. Something I've got a tiny amount of experience in as a young player, playing for Manchester United, but only for a brief period of time, and wasn't able to sustain playing at such a high level. But it certainly wasn't the reason I started playing football. I started playing because I wanted to have fun with my friends, and becoming a professional player wasn't on my mind at the age of 7 years old. And I'm sure that's the case for every child starting their journey in the beautiful game. Obviously, it takes a huge amount of dedication, hard work, and plenty of luck to reach the top. But are any of those things really measurable at the youngest ages? And one thing I know for sure is you have to love the game with all your heart to have any chance. And to love something, you've got to enjoy it. James, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely crucial. I think anyone that's made it to the top loves the game. You said it a few weeks ago, John. You don't know anyone that's made it as a professional footballer and signed a contract who hasn't got a football tucked under their arm with them wherever they go. That's my experience as well, that you just have to be obsessed. I think that would be the word that I would use. You've seen that with young children. You coach lots of really talented children. They're all obsessed, aren't they? The ones that come through at the end.
Yeah, 100%. They just, the one thing in common is they all just absolutely love football. Any opportunity to play, to go watch, to be involved, they're there. Even when they get injured and maybe they've got a weekend off, they're still dragging their family to the academy game to go and watch their mates and be involved in the day.
Okie dokie. Do you want to put it on trial?
Love to.
Let's go. Okay, welcome back. We're in Chaddy's Court now. I'm all dressed up, ready to go. We are going to put this subject on trial. Guys, I've got two contrasting views in these yellow envelopes. Have a look.
I've had a bit of a bad run with these, just in terms of the opinion that I have to defend.
Well, I think it's just
have you not won for a while?
Not so much winning, just that stitched up with the opinion that I have to try and defend. But
no, you gave him that sympathy win the other week.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Go on then, John.
Luck is the number one factor in making it to the top. If the right scout attends on the right day, your luck will take you to the very top.
Okie dokie. James?
It takes natural, God-given talent coupled with relentless hard work to get to the top. That's why children should play every day in the pursuit of this goal.
Interesting views. Johnny, opening statement, please.
It's all about luck, and I would like to tell you a little story. I would have made it as a professional footballer if I just had a little bit more luck. You see me, Chad.
What would that luck be? Being better at football?
Yes.
Sorry, carry on.
That is really unfair.
No.
If I didn't have some little niggles and injuries when I was younger, if I was seen by the right people on the right day, there were some games that I was unbelievable, unplayable even. You should have seen me in year 4 when I played for the school. First ever game for the school, man of the match. I was on fire. Yeah. And if I was given the right opportunity, if there was a scout on that day, I'm sure I would have made it to the very top.
But what about sort of physically? Because as a centre half, you've probably not got the height to have made it there.
Yeah, well, so if I was a little bit luckier and I had a taller mum and dad, then I might have made it. But also, if I was seen at that young age of sort of 8, 9 years old, and I was put into the right environment by the right scouts, and if I was sort of flown over to maybe, I don't know, Bayern Munich and was training there, and my luck was in.
Okay. No, stop. That's the end of your opening statement. James, do you want a question Johnny on that?
I'd love to. John, can you just talk us through the man of the match in year 4 and what it was about your performance on that day that you believe that would have resulted in, if the scout had been there, then you would have got to the very top?
I just showed so much promise on that one afternoon. It was actually a tournament. It was a series of matches, and we went all the way to the final, and I sort of carried the team. That's what I was told anyway. And I was just on fire. I was breaking up play, setting little passes off, scored a couple of worldies in there as well. And I think the scout was on the day, and I did get flown over to Bayern Munich, and I was probably, like you said, I'm not the tallest, just 6 foot ish. I think that I probably would have been like a centre mid, pulling the strings, maybe a little cam, but I just needed the right coaching at those younger ages, and if someone would have seen the talent I had, it would have definitely been untapped.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
So obviously there's 0.012% of children, percentage of children that go on to become a professional footballer. So you're saying that man of the match performance in year 4 would have got you into that 0.012%?
I think there are so many children in that 99% that are just unlucky, that have what it takes to go to the very top. They're just not lucky enough to be identified or be given that opportunity. Like me, I'm in that 99%.
So of that 99.9%, surely that if there was the good fortune of those children that actually they still wouldn't get to the top because there's not enough places within teams, there's not enough opportunities to
I assume if I was luckier and a lot of other children were luckier, they'd probably like grow the league out and maybe have like 40 teams.
Okay, I'm going to stop this. James, your opening statement, please. Johnny, you'll have the opportunity to question James.
So it takes natural God-given talent coupled with relentless hard work. I firmly believe this statement with all my heart because I've seen it firsthand. There's the only children that make it, the only players that come through and sign a professional contract are those that, one, are born to do so. They are born, they come into this world with the athleticism that they need, the talent level that they need. You can't just develop that talent. You can't just train your way to the top. You have to have that natural God-given talent. But on top of that, there's plenty of players that have come through with that God-given talent that actually haven't made it. So in addition, you definitely need to have that coupled with a relentless, hard-working attitude to get to the very top. You always talk about players that stayed out on the training ground after training to practice, and that's what it takes right from childhood all the way through. That's why academies train 3 times a week. That's why children are travelling all over the country, because even of those, then such a few percentages, I think it's 1% of academy players actually gone to then play professionally. And even of those, loads of those end up getting shipped out on loan or released or whatever it might be. So the percentages are so small. So to get there, there's no other possible way to get there other than God-given talent and unbelievable hard work.
So you're saying there's no luck involved?
I think there may be some luck involved, but only within that group. So of those then naturally talented, relentlessly driven, hard-working children, players, then within that there may be some luck. But actually, even there, then effectively, if you've got the talent, if you've got the hard work, then you'll get there to the top.
So do you think there's no examples of any players that have gone on to play at the highest level that maybe aren't naturally gifted, naturally talented, and they've had to just work at it, so they're missing that sort of God-given talent, as you've mentioned?
Correct.
Just a quick question on that. It sparks in me, like, is there such a thing as natural talent? Surely talent in any walk of life is something that has to be developed. There's no such thing as a natural talent.
No, I think there is. I think that you've only got to look at children who are naturally coordinated, children that are naturally... I think athleticism is the big thing. So naturally gifted athletically.
Oh, athletically, fair enough.
Thank you.
I won't hold you in contempt at the moment. Anything else, Johnny?
He's out.
I think when you talk about, like you said, a great question, by the way.
Thank you. That's why I'm judge.
Yeah,
that's why I'm the judge.
Don't let him butter you up, Luke.
I think when you talk about like that natural God-given talent, even athletically, I still think that is developed. I think you can still, of course, have fast twitch muscle fibres, and you can be naturally athletic and have the build and physique, but ultimately that is still like you need luck not to get any injuries. You need hard work, like as you mentioned, but I think there are so many examples of people that have gone on to play at the very highest level that probably don't have that natural athletic gift and have worked hard at it to get it in absence of good genetics.
Okay, I'm going to make a decision on it. It's a a tough one. You've both made, I wouldn't say good arguments, you've both made arguments. We're not going to have a winner today because I think it has to be a combination of both. It can't all be talent, hard work. It can't all be luck. And it's a combination of both things. And because it's Chaddy's court, I'm pulling rank and we're not having a winner.
Fair dues.
And that has nothing to do with the fact that you've forgotten the Premier League winners' medal today.
Very good. Okay, guys, what are we saying then? Making it to the top. What do we really think, James?
I think it takes. You're right. It takes a combination, doesn't it? I'm sure there are examples of really, really talented players that then had a knee injury or whatever. Everyone's got that excuse that I would have played for England, but my bad knee, my ankle or whatever. I think it takes a combination of those things. I think that nobody makes it to the top without talent. I think that is God-given. I think that natural talent is a thing. I think athletically in particular. I think it does take luck. Not necessarily like the scout being there on the day, just because I think if you're that talented, you will get seen and you will get talked about. I guess that then comes a little bit back to if you're going really deep on then the background of someone. So there's like, there's loads of examples of like African footballers that have moved over to the UK and things like that, and then they've had their career in the game, and they've had a real tough upbringing, for example, but then how many of those are there that never got the chance to do that or never got spotted or whatever it might be? Whereas in the UK, I think if you've got the talent level, you will be seen, you will be talked about, and you will get those opportunities to come through. Unless, I guess, you never play the game at all, but if you've got the passion for it, I think that those children the cream will rise to the top, as they say.
Johnny?
Yeah, I think once again it is a mix of all of those things. I do actually think there probably are examples of people that have played that haven't had that little bit of luck that they need. I do agree. I think more often than not there will be the cream that rises to the top, and if you are incredibly talented, you will be spotted. But I think there are probably examples of children maybe like being the youngest in their age group, maybe playing up an age group even, and then getting overlooked by scouts or by those opportunities that maybe would arise. So I think there probably are examples of those that maybe are missing out on the luck, and that's why I think it needs to have like a bit of everything and a lot of luck along their journey to then reach the very top.
What do you think, Luke? Because I'm just thinking, you've seen it. You've seen that.
You've been at the very top.
Yeah. The cream does rise to the top. I think the interesting one that we're listening to you guys speak at the start around sort of the hard work and dedication, which of course you obviously need to succeed and excel in anything. I mean, I look at you two guys obviously running the Football Fun Factory, and it's incredibly hard work what you do. But in my case, growing up playing football, and I assume I can't say this for you, but it doesn't feel like hard work because you absolutely love it. It doesn't feel like complete dedication and you sacrifice anyone because you're absolutely loving what you're doing. And I think sometimes when you sort of talk about hard work, you've got to work as hard as you can, it's seen as it's a negative thing, when in reality, when you love what you're doing, which you have to do, what you spoke about at the start, to become a professional footballer, to do whatever you want to do, what you dedicate yourself to, the hard work's not a bind. It's not something that...
It's different, isn't it, for children and for adults? So if you're a professional football player and it's your job to turn up, train, get your gym sessions in, eat right, train right, sleep right, all those kind of things, and it's your job to do so, it's more than you've got capacity to do so. Although, footballers, like when you as a young footballer, you had kids, growing up and things like that, and you could balance that. But actually, the life of a footballer is just a few hours. It's not like there aren't 12-hour days, are there? But there are. But those 12-hour days, 8 hours of those might be rest. So I think it's really important to kind of recognise the difference where hard work at the very top should be kind of easy. One, because you love it, and two, because you've got the capacity to be able to do that. Then what does hard work look like when it's filtered down to an 8-year-old? Actually, I don't know. It's a little bit of a different conversation, isn't it? Because talk about overtraining and playing too much football and those kind of considerations. Whereas all of that is managed for you when you've got a sports scientist looking after how many minutes you play and things like that. So I think it's a bit of a different kind of conversation.
But look, we spoke about developing that talent and what that looks like, whether you're born with talent. I think physically you can be born luckier in terms of what your body becomes and what you look like. But I think that in terms of the technical ability, that is all developed playing, training, whatever you do. And I think as an 8-year-old, I think probably that's where I developed a huge amount of talent at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, just playing out in the garden. And that was, looking back now, was the hard work that saw me have a career in professional football. But when in reality, it was me having the time of my life out in my back garden doing so.
So, Chad, obviously you've gone through the journey. You've seen lots of other children and adults that have either gone on to make it or not gone on to make it. Have you seen examples where someone's been really unlucky, that you think they had the talent and the hard work to go on to play at the very top? And have you seen someone that maybe has worked really hard, been really lucky, necessarily might not have the talent? Like, have you seen, those three things, so hard work, talent and luck? Have you seen examples where people have gone on to reach the high top in absence of one of those, or not?
100%. I think, like, coming through at Man United, there was a huge amount of kids there that were way more talented than I was, but didn't get as far or didn't become professional footballers like what I would. I think in terms of them ones that injury is always the one, and that is obviously complete luck, because you might get a bad tackle or something like that and people haven't fulfilled their potential because of suffering from injuries. I think in terms of when you get a little bit older, you talk about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you just play because you absolutely love it. I think as you get 15, 16, 17, 18, there's other distractions in terms of what life becomes as a teenage boy or girl, where other things may take precedence. And I think that's where a lot of really talented young players sort of slip a little bit from football because other things like going out with their friends, whatever it may be. And I think that's where the dedication comes in. But in my mind, it wasn't dedication, because football was what I loved more than anything else, and probably went through my life doing to the detriment of myself, really, because football became more important than anything else, and probably didn't understand myself as a human being, just understanding football more than anything. But I think in terms of the variables, there is things that happen that can take talented kids away from the game, and less talented kids have got that desire, dedication to then go through and become a professional player.
So with your journey then, you obviously had the hard work just through love of playing football. You're out all the time playing. You had the obvious talent level, and like you said, you might have had some other people that are more talented. Have you got like many examples of where you've got like quite lucky on occasion? Like maybe when you're trying to get into the first team, the player in front of you got injured, or those types of things? Yeah,
I think there's so much that you can consider sort of luck. The fact that I played incredibly, there probably wouldn't be many times where a Manchester United scout would travel down to watch a 14-year-old kid play a game, and lucky enough to play well in that game. I was probably lucky that I got sent on loan to Royal Antwerp at the time I did. Lucky that there was a space as a sort of fill-in for a winger in the first team when I came back from Antwerp. So luck's got a huge amount to play. I think in all, well, regardless of if you're a footballer or not, there's so much luck. But like the saying goes, doesn't it? The harder you work, the luckier you get, and then that's when opportunities tend to arise.
Nice, interesting.
Yeah, I think there's, like we said, the phrase, lots of phrases in the podcast today, but the cream will always rise to the top. I think that if that Man United scout hadn't come that day, you still would have had the career, and I think you still would have, grabbed hold of the opportunity. Or
do you agree with that?
I'm not sure. I mean, you just don't know. You don't know, but you don't. I mean, so I was playing for Arsenal at the time, and if Manchester United didn't come and watch me play, I would have just stayed at Arsenal, and I may not have had any
Flip side, you may have then got into the Arsenal first team, and you may have had more appearances, and Man United might have bought you, and you may have established yourself within the team.
Could have been David Beckham.
Oh, flipping it. I think that's the beauty. That's what makes life so amazing, isn't it? You never know. Like, you never make a wrong decision, do you? Because you never know whether it was right or wrong, so you don't choose the other thing. So I think it's incredible what football can do in terms of the luck that comes with it or doesn't come with it. But to a certain extent, you do make your own luck, don't you, in terms of what you do in any walk of life.
Yeah, I think there's, just to touch on your point earlier, you've mentioned a number of times really, really talented players. Like you talked the other day, you were asked the question about like the best finishers, and you always mention like David Healy as one of those. I remember him because I'm a Norwich fan. I think he had a loan spell at Norwich and scored quite a few goals and whatnot. But he was like an unbelievable finisher, and you talk about him in the same vein that you talk about Andy Cole, for example. And then you go, well, actually, one's had this glittering career, one sort of not so much. But then the natural talent level, you'd say maybe at one point in time might have been comparable. Could it be that Andy Cole just had that bit of good fortune that got him in the team and didn't have the injury or whatever it might have been? Do you think the circumstances of that where there's players that, yes, they had a career in the game, but they didn't rise to the top because of good fortune or misfortune?
Yeah, I mean, that's an incredibly hard question. I'd say that's sort of going back to that physicality at the start where Andy Cole was athletically incredible and Dave Healy wasn't, obviously very athletic, but not in the same vein as a world-class player like Andy Cole. I mean, Dave Healy's an absolute Northern Ireland legend, scored a hat-trick against Spain, ain't had a sort of a bad career or anything like that. Obviously didn't reach the heights of Andy Cole, but I think they're at that very, very top level. There is small things that change it, and I think Healy was an amazing finisher, but Andy Cole just had a little bit more athletically to be more of a threat in Champions League and Premier League games.
So let's take this back to football coaching then, because I'm just conscious there's loads of football coaches that listen in and watch this podcast. If you're a coach that wants to help children with their ambitions, so whether that be to enjoy themselves, make friends, have fun, right through to develop, progress, sign a professional contract, whatever it might be, join an academy, what can we do as football coaches to help children kind of get along as far along that journey as possible?
For me, and I always say this, and you're probably bored of me saying it, people listening, I've probably said it on this podcast. Fair enough. But them first experiences have got to be fun and enjoyable. I would talk about Melbourne Tigers, under-9s, first grassroots teams, Colin and Martin, my managers, made it so much fun. No thoughts, as I said at the intro at the start, of becoming a professional footballer, but because those sessions were so fun and enjoyable, I fell in love with the game. And that's the only reason that, in my opinion, any child will ever have a career in football is by falling in love with it. And then also, even more importantly than that, they still love the game when they're an old sod like me.
Yeah. John?
I think the point you made, Chaddy, around the hard work never felt like hard work. It felt like you were just playing football is so, so important. And I think that's the biggest thing, sort of linking back into what you just said then. I think coaches have to try and create this incredible lifelong love for the game. So then the hard work just feels like playing football, and they're willing to do it and they're able to do it and they love doing it, because ultimately they're going to need that as a huge sort of part of that journey to then go and reach to the very top.
James?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's an opportunity for us as football coaches to help children in whatever they wish to achieve. And I think it has to be driven by the child. I think that's probably the fourth factor beyond hard work, natural God-given talent, and then that bit of good fortune is probably then what they want as well. Because it may well be that there's a child that's really, really talented in something else and they would have been good enough to make it to the top in football. There's probably children out there in corporate or adults out there in corporate careers that could have been a footballer, but they didn't really want to. I think there's probably examples of that as well, so that would be the fourth factor. But what we need to do as football coaches is give children all the options, you know, that when they're in that grassroots team and they're excelling, they're scoring 10 goals in a game, open their eyes to the possibility of going on to the local pro clubs trials or whatever, but ultimately it has to be driven by the child. And I think that's where parents come into play as well, where they need to ask the children what they want from it, not necessarily push them into it. So I think that's probably the other factor for me.
Fantastic chat, guys. Really enjoyed that. Let's have a couple of viewers' questions. Let's have a couple of listeners' questions. Okay, Johnny, first question is going to go to you as the head of delivery at the Football Fun Factory. What's the best tip you can give to grassroots football coaches?
So broad.
Apologies, I'm sure.
Next time when you submit questions, guys, can you make it a bit more specific? My best tip. I mean, I've got hundreds. Do you want hundreds, or should I
just one? We just want one. That's what the question
Closing
is.
the question.
So make it fun. There you go. I think if the coaches has fun,
How?
the children have fun.
What's the number one way you make it fun?
Once again, I don't think there is one answer to that. Apologies for being so cryptic, but I think if the coach enjoys what they're doing, if they love it, if they have a smile on their face, they showcase and showing the children that they're having a good time, they're coaching and enjoying it, I think that energy is infectious and rubs off on the children that you coach.
Well done, you come back there.
Thanks,
it's
mate.
really a really poor answer, but you've turned it all around and given us a real good one. Interesting one for all of us. I'll start with you, James. Have you guys each got a best moment so far during your time at the Football Fun Factory?
It's too broad, John. Jelly, best moment? It's been so many. Similar.
We just did one. Clues in the question.
My favourite moment was probably... One of them was actually going to Ireland. So we flew out to Ireland and... we trained the team of coaches at Centre Parks. So Football Fun Factory is the football provider for Centre Parks. And taking the Football Fun Factory to another country and seeing it in operation and seeing that you can take a kind of unique concept, if you like, from one village, and we've seen it kind of roll out across a country, to then go to another country and see the Football Fun Factory in operation in a different way, a different format, with Centre Parks rather than our head coaches, our franchisees, but actually the outcome being the same. Happy, smiling children, loving football, having fun. For me, that was a pretty cool moment.
Fantastic. Johnny?
I was trying so hard to think of one when you were talking, but there really isn't just one thing that I can pick out. I've loved every second. I know it sounds cliche, but loving the journey, every single twist and turn, ups and downs, and every step. Every head coach coming in, every big announcement, every small announcement, every late night. I think it's all of it wrapped in together. Just to, I guess, piggyback on what you said, JC, about in Ireland. Actually went for a stag do in Northern Ireland and walked past an AstroTurf where there's a session. It wasn't on at the time, but that was a sort of a pinch me moment, really, to be in another country at the time, walking past where Football Fun Factory session takes place in this middle of this field where there was a little AstroTurf next to the park, and I thought that's pretty cool, miles away from home. But yeah, not one single moment, unfortunately, just all of them.
What's yours, Chad?
I'm not sure it's my favourite moment. It's a moment that just came to me reading this question that sort of sparked a feeling of how far we've actually come. Was my first ever football fun and development session at the Astro. You were there, Johnny, at Melbourne Village College. That Astro's been done up now. It was one of the Astros in the worst states I've ever seen. It's incredible now. But doing a football fun factory session at the school that I used to go to many years ago, and feeling like I was giving something back to the children in my local. I'm getting a bit emotional. I don't know whether I need a tissue or so. But that was something that really springs out in my mind as one of my favourite moments, and something that just really sort of recognises how far we've gone. So
beautiful moments on the podcast.
See you later, guys.